Coming up, the Devils extend their winning streak away from home, and another impressive performance from Nashville's goalie. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NHL. Local experts join us to go over the biggest stories on the ice. I am your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. David Krejci celebrated his 1,000th game in the NHL by recording 3 assists. He also helped Boston get the win over the Flyers. Locked On Bruins and Locked On Flyers have more for us.
In a game where the Boston Bruins honored David Krejci for his 1,000th NHL appearance, it was he and his Czech mates who stood up in a 6-0 win over the Philadelphia Flyers. This is Ian McLaren, host of Locked On Boston Bruins, and it was David Krejci, David Pastrnak, and Pavel Zacha who led the way for the Bruins, combining for 9 points in the shutout win over the Philadelphia Flyers. In net for the Boston Bruins was Jeremy Swayman. He made 29 saves on 29 shots for a much-needed shutout performance from him as he continues to find his game. The big story, though, the Czechs and David Krejci dominating the Philadelphia Flyers and the Bruins improving their league-leading record.
Well, David Krejci had 3 assists in his 1,000th NHL game, but for the Flyers, it was a lot of things going wrong against just a really good team. Hi, this is Rachel Donner from the Locked On Flyers podcast with your quick reaction to the Flyers' 6-0 loss to the Boston Bruins. This is one of those games you try and put behind you right away. There were mistakes leading to easy Bruins goals to start, and then those 2 goals less than a minute apart in the second really took that usual persistent energy out of the Flyers engine. The bigger issue was the lackluster Flyers power play that didn't capitalize on 6 tries, including some 5-on-3 time. Even the Flyers, who got a little bit of pressure in the third, where they actually outchanced Boston, wasn't enough to get them on the board. For more on this game and the Flyers all season long, tune in to the Locked On Flyers podcast.
Matthew Tkachuk dished out 3 assists of his own as the Panthers beat the Sabres 4-1 yesterday. Locked On Panthers goes over a win that moves Florida up in the standings.
The Florida Panthers go into Western New York and stifle the league's highest scoring offense. What is up, guys? This is Armando Velez from the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, and the Florida Panthers go into the KeyBank Center and defeat the Buffalo Sabres by a final score of 4-1 in their MLK matinee matchup. And the story of the Panthers was their ability to eliminate the speed of the Buffalo Sabres. And the Panthers were eliminating in the neutral zone every time there was a chance for the Sabres to get in transition. The Panthers were on the back check as well, and as well as the Panthers pinning the Buffalo Sabres to the boards as well. That's how they created a lot of their opportunities on the forecheck, and they were protecting their goalie. This was one of the most complete games we've seen out of the Florida Panthers all season, now winning 5 of their last 7, their best 7-game stretch in the season. Matthew Tkachuk gets 3 points on the night, all primary assists. Carver Hagee gets a goal and an assist as well. And ever since Paul Maurice has decided to shake up the lines, the Panthers have been producing some wins and a lot of scoring opportunities, especially in the top 6. So listen to my recap of this 4-1 win for the Florida Panthers over the Buffalo Sabres. Make sure to listen to my recap where I'll be bringing in Jody Biasi, the host of Locked On Sabres, where we'll be discussing the 4-1 Panthers win. Your team every day.
The Avalanche scoring early and often as Detroit struggled on the road in Denver. Locked On Red Wings goes over that losing effort.
Red Wings fall 6-3 to the Colorado Avalanche in just what was an absolute showing by the reigning Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, that's one way to word it for sure. And it was definitely not a showing by the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, we talk about it all the time on this show, and we'll certainly talk about it again in tomorrow's episode. The defense has just been really brutal lately. And it's not even so much that their opponents are getting high volume shots. It's just that all of the shots against are high danger, really good opportunities, really leaving the goalies out to dry. Not that either of them played super well in this game either. Just a really brutal game that they tried to make look closer than it was at the very end again.
Absolutely. And they're back at it again tomorrow night facing the Arizona Coyotes, so let's hope they can right the ship then. Stay tuned for Locked On Red Wings.
The Devils seemingly play their best hockey on the road. That continued yesterday in San Jose. Locked On Sharks talks out everything after a loss.
The Sharks blow another third period lead. I'm JD Young of Locked On Sharks. The Sharks continue their history of blowing leads late in games, this time giving up a goal with less than 11 seconds left to the New Jersey Devils, and then they turn around and lose in a shootout 4-3. Continue to get got a goal from Timo Meier, got 2 points from Erik Karlsson, but the Sharks continue a trend that we've seen all season long of not being able to close out games, especially when they matter the most, as the Sharks fall 4-3. James Reimer was stellar again today, now stringing together a couple great games from Reimer, but the Sharks just cannot hold on to a lead. So we'll have a full breakdown of today's game on your next episode of Locked On Sharks, wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well.
Dallas getting an impressive shutout win in Vegas on Monday. Hosts from Locked On Stars and Golden Knights tell us everything that you need to know.
The Dallas Stars get back on track in a huge way with a 4-0 road win against the Vegas Golden Knights. Hey everybody, Dane Lewis with the Locked On Stars podcast, and this was the exact kind of game that the Dallas Stars needed. Jake Guentzel gets his third shutout of the season, saving 27 of 27 shots. The Stars get a plethora of goals from all over the lineup. Jamie Benn, his 17th of the season. The Benaissance continues. Yoel Kiviranta, his 6th of the season. Tyler Seguin, his 12th. He's now scored, and I believe the last 3 games continuing to play incredibly well in the absence of Rope Hintz. And Ryan Suter, his first goal of the season. Long time coming for the veteran defenseman, but he finally gets one to go. Just a fantastic game all around, up and down this Stars lineup, from the defense to the offense. They got everything they needed in this game, and they get a win for Pete DeBoer, who was formerly in Las Vegas as the coach of the VGK. So I'm sure it feels good for him to come back into his old barn and get a little bit of revenge while also getting his current team back to their winning ways. And we could see even more good news for the Stars in the future. Potential for Rope Hintz to return to the lineup either Wednesday in San Jose or Thursday in Los Angeles. But we're going to talk about Monday's win on Tuesday's episode of Locked On Stars, and I can't wait to see you there.
All right, let's get this over with. Vegas Golden Knights are about to fall 3-0, maybe it'll be 4-0. Maybe the Stars will get an empty netter. Who cares? Definitely a rough time right now for our Vegas Golden Knights. Hopefully things can get better. 4-0 Dallas Stars. Not much positive to take from this one besides the fact that it's over, and it's not even over yet. Myself and Tony Cardasco will have plenty to talk about tomorrow. For everything Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, hopefully more on the positive side, please check on Locked On Vegas Golden Knights, your team every day.
Coming up, another impressive night for the Predators goalie. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by BetOnline. It is the #1 spot for all of your online sports betting needs. You can get the latest live odds and trends, and of course, you can bet on whatever sport interests you, even the NFL playoffs that are now underway. Just head over to betonline.net. It's where the game starts. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NHL. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you once again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Capitals and Islanders went into overtime with the Caps coming away with 2 points in the end. Locked On Capitals and Locked On Islanders are in to go over everything for us.
The Washington Capitals take down the Islanders in overtime by a score of 4-3. Hi, this is Dan Homey of Locked On Capitals. Well, the Islanders jumped to an early lead. They led the Capitals 3-0 in the second period before the Capitals staged their comeback. The Capitals got goals from Garnet Hathaway. Tom Wilson got his first goal of the season with a nice feed from Nick Backstrom. TJ Oshie found the back of the net, and Dmitry Dmitry Orlov with the game winner. This was quite a game for the Capitals as they were down by a large margin. For them to come back and win this game showed a true tenacity, a true fortitude that this Capitals team did not have earlier in the season. Darcy Kemper also stepped up and played a big game as he saved the final 17 shots he faced. The Capitals hope to stay in the win column as they take on the Minnesota Wild next. I'll have more about this for you tomorrow on Locked On Capitals, your team every day.
A complete collapse at a critical time. Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders here. Islanders blow a 3-0 lead at home against the Washington Capitals and fall in overtime 4-3. And this may not happen as much now in the modern NHL, but this game turned on the physicality of the Washington Capitals, and the Islanders had no response. J.G. Pageau was injured on a questionable hit by Alexander Ovechkin. The Islanders did not respond in any way, and all of a sudden, Washington started to creep back into the game. I really think that was the turning point for the Islanders. They also took their foot off the gas and got sloppy, and it cost them a critical 2 points to the team that they are chasing in the standings for one of the last playoff berths. For more, listen to and watch the Locked On Islanders podcast with me, Gil Martin, wherever you get podcasts.
Juuse Saros once again doing his best impression of a brick wall. He turned away 38 shots in a win over Calgary last night. Locked On Predators breaks down another impressive performance by the netminder.
Juuse Saros steals another win for the Nashville Predators. Nick Morgan here from the Locked On Predators podcast. Predators beat the Calgary Flames 2-1 in a game they absolutely probably should not have won. Juuse Saros made 21 saves in the third period. And the Flames outshot the Preds 14-1 down the final 6-7 minutes of the game. Predators did absolutely everything they could to try to give this game away. Lots of awful turnovers, lots of bad penalties at bad times. And yet that is exactly what a game-changing goaltender like Juuse Saros can do. Made some incredible saves, especially in that third period, to steal 2 points for the Nashville Predators. And hey, the game wasn't necessarily great, but the Predators are still firmly in playoff contention right now, and that is going to make the future of this team very, very interesting.
That will do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game NHL. Thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Now make sure you're subscribed to Locked On NHL and your favorite team's Locked On podcast here on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.